Well, time is running out for Ukraine's vaunted counteroffensive. Those are the words of General Mark Milley, as President Zelensky says Russia has basically stopped anything that NATO has been throwing at them, sort of admitting really that they really haven't made much of an advancement at all. In other words, this counteroffensive has been a total failure. That's, you don't need to mince words about it. Let's bring in Colonel Douglas McGregor to get some analysis on this. And Colonel, good to see you. Putin says today in this kind of big speech that everyone's talking about that Ukraine has lost 71,000 soldiers during this counteroffensive that achieved nothing. What do you make of that? 71,000 soldiers killed just during the counteroffensive on the Ukrainian side. Do those numbers sound accurate to you?
Well, they're certainly plausible because about 4 weeks ago, literally a month ago, we counted over 60,000 dead. And that's based on satellite photography, looking at bodies lying on the ground, looking at cemeteries that are filling up, and also receiving reports from on the ground inside Ukraine about the masses of dead and horribly wounded people. So I think it's plausible. Can I confirm it? I can't. But I would say that the Russians have been far, far closer to the truth when they report casualties than the Ukrainians have.
General Mark Milley is saying that this time is running out here. He basically says that we've seen some gains, or some good progress here. And he said, I said at the very beginning of this that this was going to be long, slow, hard, high casualty producing. That's exactly what it is. But he thinks that there's confidence. He has a lot of confidence that, Ukraine is going to break through in the next 45 days or so before the bad weather sets in. What do you make of Mark Milley's comments?
Well, setting aside whether or not anybody wants to listen to Mark Milley, I haven't heard the truth from that man's mouth for years. He's the ultimate political puppet. And that's, of course, what the current swamp administration in Washington wants. Someone who goes along, questions nothing, and supports the status quo. Milley is a fraud, so I would just forget anything he says. The truth of the matter is as follows. The counteroffensive has been a catastrophe. Whether it's 71,000 or 69,000, I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. The equipment losses are horrendous. And all of this is for various reasons. Number one, Ukrainian forces are trained to fight like NATO. NATO, and especially the United States Armed Forces, are organized to refight some version of World War II.
I like it. Yep, it's mine.
And we're up against a 21st century military establishment, which is organized very differently. And no one has been willing to accept this reality. And that's the biggest problem. Right now, you have persistent surveillance all over Ukraine, from space-based assets down to terrestrial assets that allow the Russians, through their intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance assets, to see everything in Ukraine all of the time. We have not disrupted their satellite-based capabilities for the simple reason that if we do that, they will destroy ours. We don't want to lose ours. So it's been a game. We try to race information to the Ukrainians as quickly as possible that they can exploit, but they're not organized to exploit it. The Russians are simply organized in a way that maximizes the value of their strike assets. Strike assets, artillery, rockets, missiles, drones, you name it. And these are very plentiful on the Russian side. The Russians have always appreciated the criticality of maintaining large quantities of strike weapons. They've got them in practically limitless numbers. You link those to all of these overhead surveillance capabilities, and then you have an automatic warfare capability. Something moves towards your lines, something seems to be threatening. A group of Ukrainians assemble, they bring in additional equipment, it's all detected, it's targeted, and then at a time and a place that is convenient for the Russians, they are destroyed. We failed to come to terms with this reality. People say, well, this is starting to look like World War